And Congressman, there's been a lot of controversy. We were just talking about this a few moments ago, swirling around the Tulsi Gabbard pick for Director of National Intelligence. Where do you stand on her nomination?
Well, she should have a fair hearing, but there should be pointed questions asked, questions about why she met with Assad, what the purpose was, questions about whether she would stand for Ukraine's sovereignty, questions about making sure that she opposes Putin. So the American people deserve a hearing with fair, pointed questions.
And I do want to ask you about, we were just talking about this a few moments ago, DOGE, as it's called, this Department of Government Efficiency, led by Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk. You come from Silicon Valley. You represent that part of the country. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, should this be taken seriously? Should two people from outside of government like Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy have that kind of sway over what stays and what goes in the federal government?
Well, ultimately, they're going to provide recommendations. It's Congress that appropriates money. Let me provide an area where there could be bipartisan collaboration. I mean, the defense budget, which is nearly $1 trillion, is dominated by 5 primes. There has been tremendous reporting about the waste, fraud, and abuse in that budget. The Pentagon hasn't passed an audit and has failed the last 6 or 7 audits. So if they go to say there needs to be more open competition, not the monopolization in defense contractors, and propose recommendations, that's something that I think could be supported. If they find areas of truly wasteful spending across the government, they would get support. But if they start to recommend cuts in Social Security or Medicare or Title I education funding, they'll face strong resistance. So it really just depends what they recommend.
And as you know, former Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz is out. Pam Bondi is in for Attorney General for President-elect Trump. She has been quoted in recent months as saying that the investigators should be investigated inside the Justice Department, inside the federal government. When you hear those kinds of comments, what's your reaction to that?
Well, they're concerning, and I think that she should be asked these questions at a hearing. But my hope is, I think the American people want to turn the page. They want to focus on solving their problems, on inflation, on the cost of groceries and rent, on a secure border with a humane immigration policy. That's why they elected President Trump. I don't think they want the Donald Trump to go politicize the judiciary or Justice Department, even if he believes that it was politicized against him, which I reject. But I think people really want us, the country, to move on. And I think that those questions need to be asked. Who is she going to target?
And I do want to ask you about something. I want to get your reaction to the incoming border czar, Tom Homan, saying that Trump plans to withhold federal funding from states that refuse to cooperate with his mass deportation plans. Let's listen to this.
To me, you've got a powerful weapon, among others, which is okay, no federal funds. Boom. Last thoughts.
And that's going to happen. I guarantee you President Trump will do that.
Congressman, California, the state you represent, is already passing measures to protect immigrants from deportation. What do you make of that threat from Homan?
Well, it's very concerning and scary. People want a secure border. They want to make sure that violent felons aren't in this country. But Donald Trump and Tom Homan have talked about actually having the military involved in going into businesses and conducting raids, asking people for their paperwork. And I don't think that's what the American people want. That will violate the rights not just of those who may be undocumented and here for years paying taxes, but also potentially American citizens or caught up in the process and ask for their paperwork. So anything that needs to be done has to be done with respect for our Constitution and our values. And the specifics of what has been proposed are deeply concerning.
And I know you have some thoughts on President-elect Trump's pick for Labor Secretary. I also understand you have some thoughts on the federal minimum wage, which currently sits at $7.25, hasn't budged since July 2009. I mean, it's kind of incredible to think that that is the minimum wage of this country. You say you hope to persuade a few Republicans to pass an increase to that. Is that possible? I mean, a lot of folks are not really in the mood for bipartisanship these days. Could that be a place to start?
I hope so. I mean, look, AMLO, the president of Mexico, increased the wage there from $4.65 to almost $14 a day. And that was one of the reasons for his popularity and why his successor won. We need to increase the minimum wage here. And I would work with Republicans. There were some Republicans who voted for it in the past to do that and to work with the Senate. And Sean O'Brien, with the president of the Teamsters, he's played a role in trying to get Republicans to be for increased wages, for basic things like the PRO Act. I actually think fairly highly in the context of the new labor secretary because she did vote for the PRO Act. So my hope is that we can find progress on a agenda to increase the minimum wage, to have labor neutrality.